Salutations, dear viewers. This is George from Ireland. Viewers of this channel will be cognizant of my attitude towards Donald Trump, how I abominate him. However, I'm a very fair-minded person, and so I give credit even to him when it's due. And just occasionally, President Trump says something that merits praise. There's a presumption of innocence, and that applies to everyone, even someone as foul as Donald Trump. Look at Rob Porter, Trump's former staffer, who was said to have hit his wife. I don't know if that's true or not. I do know he's not been convicted of that. Or using emotional abuse of another one of his wives. Well, what is that? It's not lucidly defined. That's certainly not a crime. People often say unpleasant things when they're having a row with his or her spouse. A person will be discourteous and cause emotional grief to the other person. That's not a crime, and I don't think it's a reason to be disbarred from working in the White House. He might not have even have done it, I just don't know. But one thing that the Trump White House has lied about is claiming they only found out about the allegations a couple of days before Porter left his job. They'd known about them for over a year before that, because as part of the clearance procedure to work in the White House, this came out, while Porter's two erstwhile wives told the FBI about it. Come on to the case of Roy Moore, a former judge. He served in Alabama, I believe, and stood for the Senate, but he was bested, despite it being very much a red state. Now, I disagree with Roy Moore on almost everything. Seems to be a loathsome character to me, but he deserves a presumption of innocence. He allegedly made sexual overtures to schoolgirls. I don't know what the age of consent was in Alabama at the time. Was it 18? Was it 16? Were some of them below the age of consent at the time? Might have been that they were. But again, those allegations could be bogus. I just don't know. Several of them have made these accusations. And so, for me, this presumption of innocence is very important indeed. And that's why I hand to Trump for standing beside this man, despite what he's been accused of. So a journalist put it to Trump is a Democrat worse than an accused child molester? Well, the operative word here is accused. Let's put it this way. Is a Democrat worse than an innocent person? Well, let's say they're on about a par. Democrats are innocent too. So far as we know, Roy Moore did not commit any crime, and that's that. And until and unless he's found guilty of an offence, that's it. Agree or disagree with someone, that should not impinge on whether one assumes them to be guilty or innocent. It's neither here nor there. So that extends to even somebody as utterly revolting as President Trump himself. So he deserves the presumption of innocence on the things that he's been accused of. Of course, he's not been quite so fair-minded when it comes to people like Bill Clinton, who were accused of sex crimes but never convicted of anything. Or one of Trump's media heroes, which is Bill O'Reilly, who paid out $30 million. Could you imagine paying out $30 million if you'd never done the tiniest thing wrong? Not very credible, is it? So clearly Bill O'Reilly must have done something untoward. Then again, you might say, well, I don't want the negative publicity, or I don't want the stress of going to trial. Could be a civil trial, not a criminal one. There's a small chance I might lose, and the legal fees are quite high. Could it be worth it? There's all that explanation. Again, I think it's improbable. So my message really is not to assume that because one shares somebody's views, that person must be innocent, nor indeed to presume that because one finds somebody's political views to be repugnant, that person is guilty. Therefore, be fair-minded and approach these things in a dispassionate and neutral manner.